get started, I'm going to hit record on my webinar. Now, most of you have found the chat function in the webinar room, so that is where we're going to be taking questions. There is also a Q&A tab. If you want to use that, that's fine as well. But definitely chat in at any point if you have questions. I will be monitoring the chat as we make our way through the webinar. So I'm so excited to start off our Zen Your Work in 2020 challenge. Welcome 2020. Oh my God, I cannot even believe it's the new year already. But I really wanted to put together a program to help you guys jumpstart your new year, really change your experience with work, whether you're having like a so-so experience and you want to make it better, or you're really not having a great experience. It doesn't really matter. We're going to be giving you strategies that you can use throughout your work experience to solve some different problems. And there's going to be a little bit of experimentation. I'm going to throw a lot of different techniques at you over the course of the next month as part of the challenge. So hopefully you can pick and choose what works best for you, try some new things. The challenge is going to start today, and it's going to run the entire month of January. And we're going to talk about how you get into the community for it and what you can expect. But before we get into that, I do just want to make sure I introduce myself, just in case there are new people that haven't met me before, haven't worked with me. I do see so many familiar names, and I'm so excited and grateful for that. But just in case you're new, my name is Dr. Karlyn Borysenko. I'm an organizational psychologist, and I work with individuals and organizations all over the world to help them create better work experiences by using different mindfulness techniques. And when I say mindfulness, a lot of people think that it has to do with having to meditate for long hours every day. I think meditation's great. I'm a big fan, but I do not actually teach meditation as part of what I do, because I kind of feel like so many people are put off by the idea of meditation that it can be a big hindrance to get them started with using different mindfulness techniques. And there's so much you can do that has nothing to do with meditation. So that's what we're going to be focused on. There's a little bit more about me, some places that you can find me, but let's just jump right into it, shall we? And I want to demonstrate the power of what goes on in our head to really change our experience with the world. And I want to tell you about some research that happened actually a really long time ago. This research happened in like 1979. It was a Harvard psychologist. Her name is Ellen Langer. She's done a lot of interesting work. And what she did is she took two groups of older men up to a monastery in New Hampshire, where I'm from. So probably not too far away from where I'm at. Now, the first group of men, what they did is they lived in this monastery for a week, and they kind of reminisced about what it was like when they were 20 years younger in 1959. They reminisced about what was going on in the news, different sports icons, but talking about it as though it was all in the past. That was our control group for the experiment. The second group of guys came in after that control group, and instead of reminiscing about what it was like 20 years prior, they actually lived as though they were 20 years younger. So what did that mean? They actually removed everything that was more modern from the monastery. They brought in these old-fangled TVs and radios, things that they would have used when it was 1959. They wore clothes that they would have worn in 1959. They actually removed all the mirrors from the monastery so they couldn't see what they looked like in that present time, but rather they hung pictures of themselves when they were 20 years younger. And in the course of their conversations with each other, they spoke about the past as though they were in that time period. So they didn't speak about stuff that happened in 1959. They spoke about it as though it was happening in the present moment. Now, what happened? Well, after 1 week of doing this, what they saw is that experimental group, the group that lived as though they were 20 years younger, they had improvements in physical strength. They had improvements in manual dexterity, in their posture, in their perception. They had better memory. They had better cognition. They had better taste sensitivity, better hearing, better vision, and a full 63% of them had better intelligence test scores than they did at the beginning of the experiment. And that was compared to 44% from that control group. And they even had this separate group of independent volunteers who knew nothing about the study. And they looked at before and after pictures of people in the experimental group. And they actually evaluated that the after photos looked 2 years younger than the before photos. That is after 1 week of living as though they are 20 years younger. And for me, that reminded me of this old episode of The Twilight Zone. I love The Twilight Zone. I'm sure there was just like a Twilight Zone marathon on the Sci-Fi Channel for New Year's, but there's this one episode, it's the Kick the Can episode. Has anyone seen this? Go ahead and type yes into the chat if you remember this episode. But essentially, this episode is all about they're in an old folks home and they're kind of they're miserable and they're not doing too much. But one day this guy shows up. This guy's a little bit of a troublemaker, this older gentleman, and he wants everyone to go outside and play a game of kick the can. And he wants everyone to get involved in this. And eventually he convinces them to do it, right? And in the process of acting as though they were children, they actually became children. And that's a Twilight Zone, so that's, obviously sci-fi, but that is exactly the same thing that happened in that study. They acted as though they were 20 years younger, and so they became their physical manifestation started to become younger, started to become stronger, started to have more sensitivity, all these things that would have been a part of their physical experience when they were 20 years younger. And I wanted to share that story because this demonstrates the power that our mind has over our physical experience. This is not sci-fi. This happens in real life. And I can't think of a better place to apply this sort of stuff than our work experience. Because listen, work is now the number one source of stress in people's lives. The number one source of stress. It beats out finance, it beats out healthcare, it beats out family, it beats out taking care of elderly family members. The number one source of stress in people's lives comes from work. And it's so bad that the World Health Organization several months ago actually declared burnout as a diagnosable medical condition. And burnout is directly related to the stress people experience when they're at work. And that also leads to this other statistic, which we see over and over and over again, that roughly 50% of people are satisfied with their jobs. Only half the population are satisfied with their jobs. A couple of years ago, it was like 52%, and the press release was like banner year. But the majority of people are satisfied with their jobs. I see stats like this, and I'm like, oh my God, satisfaction is such a low bar. It's such a low bar to me. And I ask questions like, why don't we demand more from our work experience? Why don't we demand more than just simple satisfaction as a baseline for a place that we're going and spending 8 hours a day in? It makes no sense to me. And so a lot of people say, and this is, a cliche we hear oftentimes, leaders have this responsibility to set the tone for their organization, and whatever they do is going to trickle down to their employees. And that's true. That is absolutely true. I am very, very stern with leaders of organizations when I talk to them about this. But the reality is that it is not just their job. It's your job too. You have to take an active role in creating a more positive, fulfilling, empowering work experience. And if you don't do it, then we should not expect anyone to step up and do it for us. So Ellen Langer, the woman who did that study, she defines mindfulness as the simple act of noticing new things. And I think that that's a pretty good definition, but I actually have my own. I say that mindfulness is being non-judgmentally aware of the present moment, what's going on in our present moment. And this is going to provide the foundation for the work that we're going to do together over the next month. So there are 3 components to this, right? Being aware, being non-judgmental, and being in the present moment. And I want to just talk a little bit about these 3 components, and then we're actually going to do a quick exercise for each of these 3 components so you can start to kind of see this work in action. So we're going to start off with being aware. Awareness is absolutely central to this work because most of what's going on in our brain, most of what we are consciously aware of makes actually a very small proportion of all the information that we have available to us in our experience. And this is a matter of really bringing that stuff that we don't normally think about or we don't normally pay attention to into our consciousness so that we can be more aware of it. We're going to look at being aware of what's going on in your head. I usually call this the stories that we're telling. If you ever hear me say the stories we're telling, it's just a matter of, the thoughts you're having in your head, the internal dialogue that you're having, that sort of thing. So we want to be aware of that. We also want to be aware of what's physically going on in our body. And lastly, we want to be more aware of what's going on in our context. So when I say context, what I generally mean is who am I working with and what do they need and how can I work with them and adapt my behavior to get them to do what I want them to do. Okay. Now for today, we're just going to focus on the mind and body piece because that context piece, we're going to get into that during the challenge, but that's a whole big bag of worms. But for the mind piece, the biggest takeaway I want you to have right now is that anytime we feel emotionally uncomfortable, we're probably going to feel physically uncomfortable as well because our body follows our mind. Our mind follows our body to a certain extent as well. So we can take cues from our body. If we're feeling physically uncomfortable, then that means there's something going on that's making us emotionally uncomfortable. And that's something that we need to use as a sign to kind of take a beat, step back, and relax. And if you want evidence of this, I'm just going to ask you guys a question. I want you to type your answers into the chat. What does your body feel like when you wake up from a nightmare? What does that feel like? If you see me do this before, don't speak up. You know the answer already. But if you haven't heard me ask this question, what does your body feel like when you wake up from a nightmare? What's happening? Go ahead and chat in your answers. Tense, Shauna says. Kim says, everyone says tense. Anxious, sweaty. Yes, sweaty, exactly. Warm, exhausted. So yeah, actually, so think about it. Think about if you have a nightmare where like a monster or like an axe murderer or something. Penny says shaking, shallow breath. Imagine you're like being chased through the woods by like an axe murderer in your nightmare. And you wake up and you have all the physical attributes that you guys are putting in. There's adrenaline, you're feeling sweaty, maybe you're shaking, your whole body's tense, your heart is pounding. Did you just run a 5K? No. You were sitting in bed. You did not do anything, but you're having this experience in your mind. And that experience is so real that your body then responds and follows it. Okay. Now, most of the time when we're experiencing stress or something's going on at work, it doesn't feel like we just woke up from a nightmare. I dearly hope it doesn't, in fact. But most of the time we have more subtle signals. So you might be clenching your teeth. You might have that horrible feeling in the pit of your stomach, right? Like something's bad is going to happen. You might find that you're shaking. You might find that your fists are clenched. You might find that you just have like a general feeling of disease. I actually get my back starts to hurt sometimes when I'm really stressed out, and so I see that as a sign. And so anytime you're feeling these physical symptoms, that is an indication to you that you need to kind of slow down and just give yourself a little bit of a reset. So we're going to do our first exercise. And what I want you to do, we're going to do actually just a deep breathing exercise. It's only going to take a couple seconds. I promise it's not going to be too painful. But what I want you to do is I want you to sit up straight in your chair. I want you to put both feet firmly on the ground. I want you to uncross your arms, uncross your legs, make sure your body is open and it's relaxed. And I want you to maybe if you're in the right place to shut your eyes, maybe shut your eyes. If you're not in a place where you can do that, that's okay too. It doesn't, I don't know that it makes a huge difference, but I like to do it. And what I want you to do is just center yourself and then take a really, really, really deep breath in through your nose, make it nice and slow. Follow your breath down your throat, through your lungs, right into your belly, and then hold your breath and then release it. Okay? So we're going to do that a couple more times. Breathe in through the nose. Follow your breath down your throat, through your lungs, all the way into your belly. Hold it and then release. And we're going to do it one more time. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Follow your breath down to your belly. Hold it and release. All right. How do you feel right now? Go ahead and type into the chat. How do you feel? Cheryl says relaxed. Yeah, Lee says relaxed, grounded, calm, better, more relaxed, momentarily relaxed. Some skepticism in that momentarily relaxed, grounded, peaceful. Exactly. That was so easy, wasn't it? That was just 3 quick breaths. That wasn't hard. Guys, you can do this exercise anywhere. If you're in a meeting, you can do this exercise. If you're sitting at your desk, you can do this exercise. It's really, really, it's such a simple way just to relax your body, relax your nervous system, take a beat. And once you do it, you're going to be able to see so many more options around you. You're going to be able to see people differently. And that sounds a little abstract. We're going to talk about this more as we work our way through the challenge. But anytime you're feeling stressed out, that's a really great exercise to do. All right. So the next thing we want to do is be non-judgmental, as non-judgmental as possible. Now, what do I mean when I say non-judgmental? Listen, almost all the time, we are instantly judging things as good or bad. We're judging, people that we're working with. Are they doing something I like? Are they doing something that I don't like? Or we're judging projects. Oh my God, this project is going to be so hard. It's going to take up all of my time. We're judging different things our boss asks us to do. We're judging different things that are going on our team. Judgment really impairs our ability to make the best choices sometimes, because if you instantaneously judge something as good or bad, that means that's going to directly impact your behavior around that thing, right? Let me try to make this a little bit more practical. If your boss hands you a new project and your first reaction is, oh my God, I can't take this on. I already have too much work to do. I already have too many deadlines. This is a horrible thing. I don't want to do it. You've instantly judged this entire project as bad. That's going to impair how you approach this project. Listen, maybe this project could be one of the best things that you've worked on all year. Maybe this project is going to be something that elevates your position in the company. But you can't see those potentially positive attributes if you've instantly judged it as bad. We run away from things that we think are going to cause us pain. Anytime you're judging something as bad, you're thinking in your head, this is going to cause me pain. That means I don't want to be anywhere near it. That's not something that's going to help you and serve you. Okay. So instead, we want to make the choice to look at whatever is happening around us as something that can serve our experience, as something that is just absolutely perfect in exactly the way it is. Now, can someone give me an example of something that might happen at work where they might say, this is a really bad negative thing? I have an example if no one has ideas, but I want to see if you guys have any ideas, something we can work with. Go ahead and type it into the chat. Work in general, yeah. Office moves. Okay, let's do office moves. Meetings that are pointless. Ooh, I actually like Lisa's more. Okay, we're gonna go with meetings because listen, like unproductive meetings, pointless meetings. I mean, listen, that is a bad thing for. Oh, maybe we'll do some of these other examples. These are great, guys. So let's say you get a meeting on your calendar and you're like, this meeting is going to be the most pointless thing I have done all day. I don't know why I have to go to this meeting. I have work to do. I just need productivity time. Like you've immediately judged that meeting as bad. Instead, what if you kind of did that deep breathing and you sat back for a second and you said, "Listen, I maybe this meeting is going to, maybe I'm going to be able to learn something in this meeting. Maybe this meeting is going to help me get more resources for this project I want to do. Maybe this meeting is an opportunity for me to build a better working relationship with a colleague that I really don't like." All sorts of good potential could come out of this meeting, but you impair your ability to engage with that potential when you instantly judge it as bad. Just look at it as it is. Listen, there's another meeting on my calendar. It's not good. It's not bad. I'm going to go. I'm going to keep an open mind. Whatever it is, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's look at some other examples. So, Claire says restructuring. I automatically worry this means something bad is coming. Need to change that thinking. Yes, restructuring is a big one. And restructuring, what do people think when someone says restructuring, reorg? Usually, and actually this is going to overlap with Anne's as well, having to terminate a well-liked employee. Oftentimes when people think restructuring, they instantly are either consciously or unconsciously thinking, oh my God, my job's in jeopardy. I could lose my job. So that's really the biggest negative thing that could happen to anyone at work, right? Losing their job or something like that, or having to fire someone or getting fired. Listen, for a lot of people, and I coach a lot of people through getting fired and what that's like, for a lot of people, getting fired is an instant shock to the system. But if you ask them about it, like 6 months later, when they have hindsight, when they've moved on to their next opportunity, a lot of people will tell you that getting fired is one of the best things that happened to them because they had to kind of get up, go get that next job, go to a place that's going to really develop them, engage with them, and it ends up actually being a really good thing. And so for Anne, for your suggestion, having to terminate a well-liked employee, I would view that as, how are you serving this person? You're letting this person go onto their next great experience that there is really going to be a much better place for them, because maybe they wind up in a place that's going to invest in them, going to allow them to do more of what they want to do, that sort of thing. You might have that little blip of pain at the beginning, but really it could actually be a really great thing. So we should always be looking for ways that something that's happening is going to serve us. We default to looking to the negative. We want to train ourselves to look for, what is the opportunity here? What good could come of this? Does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone tracking with where I'm going with that? Okay. So let's move on. We'll go to our last attribute here, which is focusing on the present moment. Okay, so we've got being aware, being non-judgmental. Now we're going to bring ourselves into the present moment. And why do we want to do this? Well, most of the time, most people are doing one of two things. They're either thinking about things that have happened in the past. And when I say the past, it could be 5 minutes ago, it could be 5 years ago, it could be 10 years ago. We carry that stuff around with us, right? When you are thinking about what's going on in the past, that doesn't necessarily serve you with what's going on right now. We'll talk more about that in a sec. The other thing that people do is they worry about what's going to happen in the future. And oh my God, this thing could be really bad, or this could mean, this is not going to help me. This is going to result in too much work. I don't want to do this. You're worrying about the consequences of what's going to happen in the future. Now, the future one is actually the easiest thing to take care of, because frankly, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone here is a mind reader or a psychic. And we don't necessarily know what's going to happen in the future. Even real live psychics will tell you they don't always know what's going to happen in the future. So we don't want to worry about that, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Just put that aside. You might think you know, but you don't. But the past is actually much more troublesome because when we're thinking about the past, for example, maybe we're in a similar job to something that we did like 3-4 years ago, and where we want to try a new strategy. And this new strategy is something that you tried at your last job, and it was just an epic, colossal failure. It did not work. And you have really negative experience with that particular thing, right? You're bringing that into your present moment. You're saying, no, 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 no. I've done this before. I'm already there. I already know this isn't going to work. You're placing that judgment on what's going on in the present. However, what's going on right now may not have any relevance to what happened in the past. Maybe this time, maybe the in the past that time for the strategy just hadn't come yet. Maybe now is more of a time for it. Maybe people are going to be more open to it. Maybe in the past you had limited resources. You had a boss that wasn't fully engaged in what you wanted to do and kind of sabotaged the project. Maybe you have a different experience now. But by focusing on what's going on in the past, we relive it. We relive those emotions over and over and over again as though they are in the present moment. Now, here's the thing. Your brain does not understand the difference between emotions that you're having based on something that has happened in the past and emotions that you're having based on what is going on right now. For your brain, this is all the same. It doesn't differentiate. And so when you're thinking about negative things that have happened in the past and worrying that you're going to repeat them, you're very literally reliving that experience. Okay? Instead, what you've got to do is you've got to make yourself snap out of it and remind yourself that no, bring me back to the present. I'm here now. This has nothing to do with what happened last time. It's a completely different situation, a completely different time. And this is actually a technique that I recently learned this from a client I was coaching, and I thought it was just brilliant. And he said, I have to give full credit to him for this. I did not come up with this on my own, but he said anytime he's trying to snap himself back into the present, what he does is he claps, he says his name, and he says, "Where are you?" So for me, it might be, "Karlyn, where are you?" And when you do that, you're kind of instantly shocking yourself to come right back into the present. It's that little disruptive action to remind yourself that, what's gone on in the past, you don't need to worry about it. You just need to focus on what's going on right in front of you right now. So if you're in the position to do this, I understand some of you might be in open spaces where it might be a little weird, but if you're in a position to do this, I just want you to try this real quick. I want you to clap, say your first name, and say, "Where are you?" Okay? Give it a try and then type into the chat how that made you feel. What do you guys think? Any thoughts about that? Focused, Kim says. Awakened, Shauna says. Alert. Focused, alert. There's a big Claire says there's a big difference to say it out loud than just to think it. Saying out loud, saying it does. Yes, there is a big difference between stuff we say in our heads and the change that happens when we say it out loud. I tell people this all the time. There's a really simple formula. If you want to change your behavior or to get people to change their behavior, it's think, speak, do. First you think about it, then you say it out loud. That act of saying it out loud actually makes it more real. It all of a sudden goes from something that is kind of intangible, which is a thought, and makes it tangible, which is that voice, right? And then you go and you do it. Pamela said it refocused me on the here and now since my mind was listening in the present and then having a conversation about the future. Yeah. Annie says it definitely made me pause and think about where my mind was. Lisa's awkward. That's natural. Sometimes these things do make us feel a little bit awkward, but sometimes that's okay. Anne says, I felt silly saying it, but then I really noticed my surroundings in a fresh way. How simple is that? Right? Again, it's not like breathing. You can't really necessarily do that one around other people. They're going to look like you have two heads. But if you have some private space, yeah, clap, say your name. Where are you? So these are three simple exercises that we just did in the last 20 minutes or so that have already started to help you change your experience with what's going on around you. And this is how we start to empower ourselves to create a better work experience. You can use these things outside of work too. They aren't exclusive to work, but I really like applying them to the work environment because it is one of those places that really people really struggle with feeling really great and empowered. And these simple exercises are how we can do it, starting to integrate them into our habits and our thought process. Because here's the thing, guys, and we're gonna have real talk for a second. No one is a victim of their work experience. I don't want any of you to think no matter what is going on at work, no matter, what you're struggling with, you are not a victim of that work experience. I coach a lot of people who go through issues with workplace bullying. And when I'm coaching something with workplace bullying, which is a horrible, horrible thing to go through, I never ever call them a victim. They are a target. But that is not the same as being a victim, because when you see yourself as a victim, you instantly disempower yourself to do the things that you need to do to create a better experience for yourself. No one is a victim. You have made a choice to be in that job. You made a choice to accept that salary. You made a choice to accept that role. You make a choice of how you interact with people. You make a choice of what you bring to the table. And every single time you have the opportunity to make a choice, which is several thousand times a day, we always can make the choice to approach something differently that is going to serve our experience. When you're really stressed out at work, the problem is not necessarily what you think it is. Look at this guy in this cheesy stock photo, right? This guy is getting put upon by everyone. This guy would be very easy for this guy to see himself as a victim in this situation. What do we think are some of the thoughts that might be running through this guy's head? Go ahead and type into the chat. What are some thoughts that are running through this guy's head? Oh, leave me alone. Okay. Hang on. I don't know why the chat is functioning like this, but when you guys type in answers, like everything happens all at once for me. I can't cover it all. Why am I here? I have no time for this. So much to do. Get me out of here. He's feeling overwhelmed. I don't have time. Oh my God, leave me alone. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, what if we took a look at this guy right here? Same guy, same situation, but he's having a completely different response to the situation. You can tell just by looking at him. This guy and this guy are in two completely different headspaces. What do we think this guy is thinking? What's going through his mind right now? Remember, he's still being put upon by all the same people, but you can tell there's something different there. What do you think's going through his head? I'm a model. My favorite reaction to this ever is I was giving a workshop and some dude in the back was like, he's thinking there's a really nice car in the parking lot. I'm so cool. There's a way to work things out. We got this. Yeah, he's breathing. He's good. He's good. I can handle I love that, Lauren. Yes, I can handle what you throw at me. Absolutely. Absolutely. The difference in this situation is how he is choosing to respond to it. He could give in and look like this guy, but he knows that's not going to serve his experience. So he is responding in a completely different way. That's what we're doing when we're starting to play these games with ourselves, when we're starting to play these mind games, when we're telling ourselves different stories. We are changing the way we're responding to situations. Every moment of every day, you are making a choice. You are either choosing to do something that is going to support a positive and productive work experience, or you're choosing to do something that's going to detract from that experience. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want your experience to be? What do you want to get out of your work experience? Listen, every single one of us, We all know people who choose to be happy no matter what's going on. Usually they're the people at work that like have the candy on their desk. Executive assistants are like great at this. A lot of times they really know not to buy into the nonsense. But listen, for most of these people, like, do they have some sort of magic happy pill that they're just choosing not to share? Some of them do. Legitimately, some of them do. But no, most of them, the difference is not in what's going on around them. They don't just have this, experience filled with rainbows and unicorns. The difference is in their reaction. And that's what we're going to be focusing on. How are we handling different situations at work? See, the world is a perfect place. It is not perfect in that you get everything you want the minute that you want it, but it is perfect in that what you experience will be a direct result of what you contribute and will be exactly, frankly, what you should expect to get based on what you contribute. And when I say you are not a victim of your work experience, what I am telling you is that you have to take responsibility for what you are experiencing, because what you are experiencing is something that you have created. It is something that you have had a direct hand in. And if you want that experience to change, your actions have to start aligning with what you say you want. So, our goal here with this 30-day challenge is to start to really make sure you have complete agency over your perspectives and over your actions when it comes to work. And what we want to make sure we're not doing is blaming other people for what is going on. We don't want to put the blame on other people. We always want to know that we can look in the mirror and say, you know what? Where I'm at right now, I have responsibility in this. And if I want this to change, that means I have to change how I'm interacting with the situation. Our true goal when we're trying to zen your work is to help you be uneffable. And yeah, I use the censored version. I wish I could use the uncensored version because some people would be offended. I'd hear about it. So I use the censored version. What I mean when I say uneffable is that you're truly at peace and in touch with yourself, and nothing anyone says or does bothers you, and no negativity or drama can touch you. That's what we're going to be working towards over the next 30 days. Now, I'm not going to front. You're all probably not going to become completely uneffable in the next 30 days because for many people, this is absolutely a lifelong process. But I do know that we are going to be able to make some progress. So, for this 30-day challenge, we are going to explore 4 different topics. We're going to spend about a week on each. The first thing we're going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about each of them: knowing your goals, building your confidence, working better with those difficult colleagues, and cultivating better work-life balance. We're also going to be doing an ongoing gratitude practice. So that's going to be throughout the whole month. We're going to be doing ongoing gratitude work. So we're going to start off with knowing your goals. This is where we're going to really create a 2020 vision for what is your big goal that you want to achieve. We're going to work on developing a success mindset, being able to see that whatever you want is absolutely possible. We're going to learn how to integrate emotions into the process, and that's really important. I'm going to explain more about that this week. And we're going to look for ways to make this achievable. Kim says, I could have used this about 3 years ago. Well, Kim, you found it now. Everything is perfect, man. You found it exactly when you were going to be more open to it, maybe. I don't know. But just look at it as perfect. Everything is perfect. In week 2, we're going to work on building your confidence, kicking imposter syndrome to the curb. You're going to pick out a confidence role model and think about why that person is your confidence role model. You're going to learn how to better control the story in your head, and you're going to learn how to talk to yourself in really positive ways. Now, I want to just give you a little warning. Some people think that week 3, working with difficult people, is actually the hardest one we're going to do. No. Confidence building is actually significantly harder, I think, than working with difficult people. But we'll get into that. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Week 3, we are going to get into how to work with some of those more difficult colleagues. We're going to learn how to put their behavior in perspective. We're going to learn how to take responsibility for your part in the relationship because we are responsible for at least 50% of every relationship that we have. So you have to own that. Again, you're not a victim, you are an active participant. And we're going to look for strategies to change your approach in dealing with more difficult people. And lastly, we're going to round things out by looking at different strategies you can use to help understand, create better work-life balance. We're going to understand what that looks like for yourself. We're going to come up with strategies to help you be more productive at work. And you're going to learn strategies that will help you say no and really commit to better boundaries. Lastly, you're going to be looking for ways to express gratitude. We're going to do this every single week. You can do it every single day if you want, but we're going to do it in the challenge every single week. You're going to learn how to focus your energy and attention on all you have going for you because so many of you have so many good things going for you. We want to make sure you can see that. Want to make sure you're experiencing appreciation for the good and make it an ongoing process. So does this sound good to everyone? Are you ready to get started? Go ahead and type into the chat if you're ready to go. Fanya's going to teach us how to say yes or no to keep our boundaries intact. Yes, everyone's ready to go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yay. I love it. Ready, ready, ready. Okay. So how do we get started? Now, some of you have already done this, but I want to make sure that everyone is in the place, the group where this is going to happen. So if you have not yet joined my Zen workplace community, I just launched it a couple of weeks ago. I'm super, super psyched about this. This challenge is going to be taking place in the Zen Workplace community. How you get to there is you just go to zenworkplace.com. You'll see a giant picture of me, and you don't worry about that at all because you just want to go and click the Join the Zen Workplace community link up in the upper menu. You can also scroll a little bit down the page and click on that little green guy, and he's going to get you over to the community as well. Once you get there, you're going to see a page that looks a little bit like this. It's going to tell you a little bit about the community and what you can expect. Go ahead and read it over. But once you're ready, click that join button and you're in the community. Now, there is actually a next step to this, okay? Because once you're in the community, you're going to, there's a lot of stuff going on in the community, but there is a specific group that you need to join in the community, which is where the challenge is going to take place. So once you're in, go to the menu on the left-hand side, click that groups button, and then the very first and only group that is going to pop up is the Zen Your Work in 2020 group. Go ahead and join that and you're in. Now, I know it's like 19 different steps, but I promise it's really easy. The community is an awesome tool. It's really actually fun to engage in. So make sure you sign up, get into that group because that is where I'm going to be sharing all of the information. Okay. I'm not going to be sharing as much of it in the general community because I'm going to make the assumption that if you've joined the community but aren't in the group, then you don't want to participate in the challenge. And I don't want to muck up the feed with lots of challenge related things. So the challenge related stuff is going to be in the group. Once you're all set and you're all good to go, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to invite some friends. I want you to get some people in there with you, whether they're colleagues or just friends that you have. I know I know a bunch of you do a book club with my book at your organization. And so I love it when people are kind of getting together and doing these strategies together. So make sure you're inviting your friends and colleagues to join along with you. It's always better to do this stuff when you have social support around you. Of course, you're going to have social support in the group as well. That's part of why I made the group. But if you have people in real life, that can really be a game changer because you're all doing it together. You're all learning the same things together. So make sure you invite everyone. It's totally free to join. So there's nothing that should be holding anyone back. Now, if you want extra credit, I highly recommend if you're really getting into this stuff, if you like the way this stuff sounds, pick up a copy of my book, Zen Your Work. Ooh, I actually have a link to this right now. I'm going to make sure this goes up. There we go. Ooh. There we go. There. I actually didn't mean to make that over the full screen. Full screen slide out. There we go. Now you can still see the slides. So get the book on Amazon. It's actually on sale right now on Amazon. You can get it in paperback, digital, audio. The reason I recommend the book is not only that the book is going to have more exercises in it and more context around what we're doing, but we're only doing 4 things. The book has like 12 different chapters. So if you really like this information, the book is going to be a great resource for you. I'll be referencing it. You don't need to have it. It's not like a requirement, but it could really help you out if you want additional information. All right, so let's dig into it. We actually have our first assignment. So this is something I'm going to be putting in the group today. The very first thing we're going to be doing. This is also available in the handouts tab in this webinar. We have the slides that are available. We also have this worksheet that's available. And this is going to be exercise number 1. What is your big personal goal that you want to achieve in 2020? Angela asks, does this next webinar happen Thursday? Angela, I'm not sure what you mean by next webinar. I don't have a next webinar planned right now. But maybe there are actually going to be videos as part of the challenge. So don't worry about that. It's all going to be available in the group. I'll be posting all information there. So what we want to do in this worksheet is really, listen, guys, I know it's like January 2nd. I know we just started 2020, but I want you to fast forward to the end in your head, of course. And I want you to think about, where do I want to be on December 31st, 2020? What do I want to have achieved in that year? What will make me feel really good if I achieve that? That's going to be your goal. That's going to be the big thing that you want to make sure that you put on this paper. Kimberly asked, will the slides and handouts be available later? Yes, the slides and the handouts will be available in the group. I'll make sure they're available as well. So we're going to pick out a big goal. You're going to put a couple of notes about why achieving this goal is important to you. We're going to link achievement of that goal with an emotion. We're going to talk more about why linking it with an emotion is a good idea later this week. We're going to get some first steps towards achieving that goal. And we're going to get some notes about other things to keep in mind. So again, this handout will be available in the group, and I will make sure everyone has a copy of it so you can do this exercise. Now, there is a note on here under the emotions. Linka, if you want to, Linka asked actually a really great question. Just one goal? I think if you want to choose a couple of goals, that's fine. But I want these things to be big, Linka. I don't want this to be something like, I'm gonna email that guy about that project. Like that's not a big year-long goal. I want you to pick out one big thing. And maybe you don't even need to work the whole year to get there. But make these be a big goal. Don't sell yourself short on this one. But hey, you're welcome to use the strategy with as many goals as you like. Okay? So on the sheet here under number 3, when I'm talking about linking it with an emotion, thinking about how it's going to make you feel, I also note there that it might be helpful for you to Google an emotion wheel to really help with that step. Here's what I mean when I say emotion wheel. Literally, if you Google emotion wheel and look at the images, this one's going to come right up. This is actually my favorite one. And I like using these because sometimes it's hard to really put words to emotions that we want to feel. So this can be a great resource to help you really understand where you want to be where you want to be when you're done, and to make that more tangible. You can also look at things like emotion ladders and thinking about, where you are right now on the emotion ladder and kind of moving up to the top. So that's another tool as well. Again, I know I'm not going into a lot of detail about why this is important just yet, but I will be in on Monday. So we're going to talk more about why emotions are important then. All right. One more thing, and then I'm going to just open up the floor to questions and anything else you guys want to talk about. Listen, this is serious business. For real, guys. Your desire to change, to create a new work experience, to reduce your stress, to do whatever you want to do, it has to be stronger than your desire to stay the same. That is the only way that change happens, when your desire for something new exceeds your desire to stay where you are right now. Listen, there are a lot of reasons why people might be really, when people might really want to stay in their current state. It might be what they're used to. Most of the time, this is just our comfort zone. It's what we've gotten used to. And even though we know it's not good for us or not as good as it could be, it's kind of like, take the devil you know over the devil you don't. We anticipate that bad things might happen if we might change it. We're kind of like in a good middle place right now. So why would we want to go for more? Why would we want to disrupt that? Your desire to achieve that more ideal experience, that more empowering experience, that can be scary. But I am telling you, if you really go for it and you commit and you don't let any of the nonsense get in your way, you will feel so, so much better as an end result. And these are strategies that you're going to be able to take and utilize your entire career. And if you're really lucky, you're going to be able to use them outside of work too. And it makes things better outside of work as well. So I strongly encourage you to really commit to it. If you struggle, make sure you tell that in the group. You're going to have so much social support. We're going to help you get back on track. I am worried particularly about the normally when people are trying to make new habits, or and especially true with like New Year's resolutions, the first 2 weeks are easy peasy, and it's like that third week that people kind of start to teeter and start to give up on those New Year's resolutions. So if you're struggling, make sure you tell me, make sure you tell the people in the group. We are your support system to get you through the month. If you can get through the month and start doing these exercises and start really integrating them into your work experience, after you hit that month mark, it's like all downhill from there. It gets so much easier. But we got to get through the month in order to be able to do it. All right. So I'm so excited to get to know all of you throughout the course of the next month. And I just want to open the floor to questions. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Graham says 66 days at least to form a new habit. Graham, I actually think it's closer to 90, but we're going to do 30 days here as a good start. Rhonda says, when focusing on the present and continuously not imprinting the past in the present moment, how do you balance bringing lessons forward, learn from experiences, and starting fresh? Rhonda, that's a really great question, because of course, there are lessons we can learn from the past. I think you have to be very, very honest with yourself about what you're taking in terms of lessons, and when and it really has to do with like assuming something is going to go negatively just because of things that have happened in the past. If you're going to a negative place with assuming that this is never going to work, there's no way I can make this successful, you're probably not bringing wisdom from the past. You're probably bringing those negative emotions. And we'll talk more about that as the challenge goes on. Maura says, I'd love to post this on Facebook. Do you have a link? I don't yet, Maura, but I will have a link, and it'll have the recording as soon as the webinar is done. And so I'll make sure to post that in the group. Kimberly says, will you be contacting us by email throughout the challenge? Kimberly, I am not anticipating that, because I'm going to be putting information in that group. But if you guys want me to contact you by email, maybe we can talk about that in the group. If that's something a lot of people want, I can arrange that. But the group is really going to be the kind of the central hub. Shauna says, is there a way on the website to forward it to our teams at work? I would just forward them the link. Shauna, are you talking about the webinar or the group? So if you guys want to share this with your teams at work, actually, what might be the best thing is I actually just yesterday made an introductory video, kind of a preview of the challenge that I put on YouTube. I also posted it in the community. Probably forwarding your team that introductory video would be a good thing. But I'll make sure to post a link in the group so that you guys can share that out as well. And the webinar. I will post everything there. You guys can share whatever you like. Any other questions? Kimberly says, how often should we log in and check the group? Kimberly, I'm going to be posting in the group every day, and you will actually get an email note. Actually, you know what? Actually, I lied. I will be emailing you throughout the challenge, simply because the way the group works is anytime I post in the group, you will get a notification email that I post in the group. So, hey, two birds, one stone right there. So yes, you can check in the group. I recommend once a day. Now, this is actually important. I'm not going to be posting on the weekends because I think people should have a break on the weekends, but every working day during the week, there will be something new. So I recommend checking back once a day, at least. Uh, Pamela, yes, I will be posting the recording on Facebook. I'm going to be posting it. I know you're on my personal account, so yes, I'll be posting it on my account. I'll also probably be posting it on the my page. Anne says, when can we expect the handouts to be available? And I will literally, the handout is actually, there should be a handout tab in the webinar. And so that the handout is actually should be there now. If it's not, I apologize. I'm not sure what technical tomfoolery is happening there, but I will post the handout to the group literally right after I get off this webinar. So you have it immediately. Huh. Well, I apologize that the handout tab is not showing. Again, I'm not sure. I'm still learning this webinar system, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know. Like, I can see it. I don't know what's going on. So I apologize, guys, if you can't see the handouts. But I will definitely make sure that I get those up and out to you within like the next 15 minutes in the group. So you have all that information. Yes, Jennifer, there is actually, excuse me, an app for the group. That's actually a good key point. There is actually a mobile app for the community that you can download and get notifications when new things are posted. So you can use it on your phone, your iPad, whatever it says as well. I don't know why I haven't. Oh, okay. Thank you, Sarah. You reminded me to share the handouts. The handouts should be shared now. But again, I will be posting them in the group as well. Thank you, Pamela. I'm really excited about doing it. I think it's going to be awesome. All right, everyone. We have reached the top of the hour. If you have additional questions for me, please make sure you post them in the group. I will be very active in it. And I really look forward to getting to know everyone throughout the next month. All right. Thank you so much for coming out today and joining the challenge. And yeah, take care. Have a great rest of your day.